what's more painful than your fear, right? Because of course we let a lot of fear stop us from achieving so many great things. But what resonated to me is that, like, what's more painful than the fear? Because like if we're in business or try to make money, like that more money, that success affects other things in our life as well. So that affects, our children, our parents, our grandparents, the vacations we want to take, the life we want to live, the time we want to give back to ourselves, the time we want to give back to our kids, the time we want to spend while our kids go to college, vacation, retirement. Like, what is fear stopping you? What is fear? Let me share this video. Well, what is fear stopping you from getting? And don't let fear be stronger than those things you want to achieve. And let me share this real quick. Oh, thank you, Diane. I just seen that you shared it. Oh, step ahead, step ahead. And then let me get my notes too, because I wrote some notes down. So yeah, so think about this. And I give you real examples too. Like a situation happened a couple of weeks ago where somebody was somebody I was coaching, their mother went to the hospital. But of course, their job, right? Their job, you're on your job's time. So so the job told them, hey, listen, you cannot go until you finish your work, right? Which is really messed up. But at the same token, this person had a business, but she was scared of making the phone calls that she needed to make the money, because I told her, what if we made these phone calls? What if we rushed this process for you to build your own business and leave your job? When situations like this happens, it's not a second thought, and putting the priority we're prioritizing things that prioritize you, and we're not letting the jobs or external factors uh prioritize your priorities. Right? So definitely, so one thing I want to say in some questions, that if you're in a place to write, if not, just listen, that the first question I want you to ask yourself is, what am I afraid of? What are you afraid of? Writing down, sorry, writing down your fears can make them feel less overwhelming, right? Because problems tends to look a lot smaller on piece of paper. So I would say definitely, what am I afraid of? And write everything down that you're afraid of, or what's preventing you from getting to that next thing. Whether it's a phone call, whether it's a conversation with people, right? Is it stepping outside that comfort zone to do XYZ action? Like, what are you afraid of? And really write them down. Because again, once we write it down and we read it to ourselves, one, it's leaving our mind, but two, it really is smaller than you actually think it is. But this little piece of thought is controlling a lot of your actions for you to get to where you need to go. The second question I want you to ask yourself is, who am I fighting for? Right? Because usually we're fighting for something. And usually we wrap this thing in I know mostly when we start businesses, we ask people like, what's your why? What's the reason why you're doing this? Because we know you're not doing it for yourself, right? There's usually an external factor that's helping you drive and get to the things you need to go to. So sometimes your fear stops you from helping people you care about, and reminding yourself of this can give you the push that you really need. So remind yourself and write this down, like, who am I fighting for? And get detailed. Like, don't just say my mother, my son, like, write their name down. I'm fighting for Sean Wilson. I'm fighting for Robert Wilson. That's my father. Fighting for, and just write their names down of what you're fighting for. And then the next question I want you to ask yourself is like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, really, if you eliminate your fears, if you take the actions that you need to take, Like, what's the worst that could happen? Worst case scenario may not be as bad as you think. And then in many cases, failure doesn't change much about your current situation. So what do you really have to lose? Like, because you already know the result of you not doing these things in fear, right? You already know, because if you're sitting there doing nothing, you already know the result of that. But now let's skip over the fear and let's see what the result is from conquering that fear. And the last thing I want you to ask yourself is, what if I succeed? Think of how your life would improve if you would follow through and remember why you got into this in the first place. So everybody got a different journey right now, right? Whether it's trying to get a promotion for a job, whether it's trying to elevate your business, whether it's trying to get financially fit, physically fit, mentally fit. That's why we're on here, to really pour into you in our overflow. But what if you succeed? When you write that question down, or as you're thinking about that question, like, write not only what happens if you succeed, right? So say, for example, like, if I say, hey, I'm going to the gym, if I'm not scared of the weights, like, the results are not just, hey, I'll be physically fit, but the results will also be, hey, my blood pressure will go down. Hey, my insulin levels will go down, right? I'll be more healthy for my grandkids, my kids. I'll live to be 100. Like, there's other results attached to those results. So definitely, I want you to think about those things, right? And then stealing a page out of Chris's book, I was reading this the other day, and I really wanted to bring it into text with 177 mental toughness of the world class, is that champions handle fear like a snake charmer. So reading this text, the relationship performers have with the fear is a significant distinction between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs are controlled by their fears, while professionals learn to embrace fear, like a snake handler holding a venomous king cobra by the neck. Champions know if they get sloppy or stop paying attention, the cobra will take their life. I just want to expand on that. Champions know if they get sloppy or stop paying attention, the cobra will take their life. Just meaning that, the cobra is the thing we fear, and we have to recognize what fear is, because if we don't pay attention to it, it's going to slip into us and bite us and enable us or disable us to continue to move forward with those things. So that's why, like, the first question is, what are we afraid of? We really have to recognize what our fears are. Then it says, the great ones use the energy and intensity of fear to drive them to greater heights. They learn how to become comfortable while performing in an uncomfortable state of mind. I'm going to read that again. They learn how to become comfortable while performing in an uncomfortable state of mind. Repeated exposure to their fears systematically desensitize them, eventually depleting their fear. And expanding on this a little bit before I finish reading, is that fear is there. Like, we recognize it. But the more we attack it and chip it away, the more we start depleting it and destroying this fear. So that's why it's great to recognize it. So this way we can take the actions that go against the grain of these fears. So this way we can get to that next step. And then it says, an interesting phenomenon often occurs after this desensitization process. Performers fall in love with the activity they used to fear. Suddenly, they can't get enough of the activity because it makes them feel so good Since the beginning of the public opinions polls, the #1 fear among people worldwide has been public speaking. The fear of public humiliation is too much for the ego to bear. So most people develop a tremendous fear of speaking to the groups. Realizing the incredible force public speaking can be in their careers, many champions have faced this fear head on and later fell in love with the emotional high public speaking offers. Champions have learned emotional strength and power lies on the other side of fear. On the other end of the spectrum, amateurs usually settle for the short-term gain of avoiding what they fear. And one line that stuck out to me just right now, and that resonated with the video too, is that we carry fear in our hearts. And when we carry these fear in our hearts, then that does not leave room for love and abundance. So as we, right, because it says here, I can't find it right now. Oh, performers fall in love with the activity they used to fear. Performers fall in love with the activity they used to fear. In the video, it said that fear fills our heart. But once we start chipping away, love starts to take place of this fear, and then we start loving the activity, right? So we want to get rid of the fear, so this way we can fall in love. It's like a relationship, right? We got heartbroken so much, so when we fear, we tend to have that love blocker. We don't want to love anymore because of that fear. So I definitely want y'all to take the time out, answer those questions of what you fear, what's on the other side of fear, what's your why you're doing it. So this way you can definitely get on the other side of that, because we want you to be with love. We want you to be in abundance. We want you to achieve everything that's there out for you, right? Because the fruits is already out there, right? But we have to have our labor match the fruits of what we want. Because the bigger our dream, the bigger our labor. So guys, I just want to leave y'all with that. You know, we here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It is the same link, same time at 9:30 a.m. to 10 o'clock. Make sure next time you share this with somebody so we can have hundreds of people who need this message, right? And even if they don't think they need it. And I just want to thank you guys and show gratitude again for spending your Monday morning with me. The link is in the, Robert, the link is in the chat. But you can always hit me up and I'll send it over to you as well. All right, there you go. Diane just reposted it. But thank you guys for spending time with me again. See you on Wednesday, 9:30. You already know Chris comes with the heat, and we love this public speaking. And again, we feared it at one point in time, but now we out there because we want to share this overfill with y'all. Love you guys. We want you to win. See you on Wednesday.